I've always wondered why K-pop has never had an official Kpop Hall of Fame. Now, if you look at American entertainment, they have things such as the Hollywood Walk of Fame, as well as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In sports, you have things such as the NFL or NBA Hall of Fames. But what about K-pop? Other than the Mel0n Kpop Hall of Fame, which pretty much just tracks like sales numbers, but doesn't really have a criteria or a set of judges that picks which groups go into this Hall of Fame. But I feel that this Hall of Fame, just based off sales numbers alone, isn't really like an official Hall of Fame. So I felt that Korea not having a K-pop Hall of Fame was a bit odd. So I thought to myself, if there was a K-pop Hall of Fame, who would make it and why? What would the criteria be? And thus, this video was born. So for this segment, we'll be talking about female K-pop groups that make the K-pop Hall of Fame. Will your favorite group make it into the Hall of Fame? Will you agree with my picks? Well, let's find out. So before we break down who actually got into the K-pop Hall of Fame for female groups, let's find out what my personal criteria is.
As the title says, we'll only be talking about female groups, so no solo singers or male groups. We'll also be talking about the modern K-pop era, starting from the 1990s to the present. The groups also have to be around for at least 5 years, so no current groups will be on this list. And it's also to avoid one-hit wonders. As for the major criteria, they include, did the group win a Daesung award, or pretty much the grand prize or Artist of the Year award? Did the group achieve top 5 sales in digital or physical copies in a year? Was the group mainstream to non-K-pop fans? Did this group at least have one iconic dance or music video? Was this group consistent in sales and popularity? For instance, a group doesn't always have to be the top-selling group of a given year, but if they're always in the conversation of being popular in any given year, and if their sales are pretty high, say in the top 5 or 10, then that's pretty consistent. Did this group majorly influence, pioneer, or define an era? And lastly, would K-pop history be incomplete if you left this group out? So these are the main criteria points that I'll be using when accepting girl groups into my personal Hall of Fame. So just please keep that in mind when you see my selections.
Now, a group doesn't have to hit all these criteria, but it has to hit most of them. So with all that criteria out of the way, I want to first talk about 3 groups that are pretty much on the cusp of making the Hall of Fame. While these 3 groups didn't fit all the criteria, they're pretty much this close to making my Hall of Fame. So let's see who these groups are.
First, a group that's pretty much an automatic lock when they hit 5 years, and that is TWICE. They've been setting new music records and outselling other girl groups by a large margin. This group's been slaying the music charts the way that Buffy the Vampire Slayer slays vampires. And to further this, they're already known as the new nation's girl group. Since their debut in 2015, TWICE is one of the new generation's biggest groups that's led to K-pop's resurgence since. They're known to pretty much every person in Korea, as well as K-pop fans overseas. The group's even done quite well in Japan, as their sales and popularity with Japanese K-pop fans is quite high. If you're new to K-pop, you definitely know these 9 girls. These girls have also contributed to reviving the JYP brand name, as today, JYP's brand name and profits are at an all-time high.
They're the girl group that every other company is trying to emulate. In fact, if TWICE continues their torrid, incredibly successful career thus far, when the group reaches 5 years being together, they're definitely a shoo-in for this Hall of Fame, no questions asked. Unless their career falls off like on a wayward cliff, they are in. They pretty much compare to Girls' Generation with just their incredible run into K-pop thus far.
Next, a group that got screwed over, but it wasn't their fault. They could enter the Hall of Fame soon, and that group is T-ara. Now, this group was on fire back in the early 2010s. Alongside producer Shinsadong Tiger, T-ara made electropop and dance pop very popular. By 2011, their catchy songs and dance became the rage in Korea with songs like Roly Poly, Bop Beep Bop Beep, and Lubby Dubby. At one point in Korea, they were the 3rd most popular female group in terms of mainstream popularity. Unfortunately, as you may know, by 2012, they were involved in a scandal involving former member Ryu Hwa-young. And without going into the crazy details, I feel that T-ara personally got screwed as the scandal shattered their rising hopes to stardom. From their golden age in 2011 and 2012 to becoming popular in China a bit later in 2015, despite a ban on K-pop acts going into China because of the THAAD missile crisis, T-ara was a force outside of Korea. But by 2017, T-ara was largely vindicated due to the many former managers and staff telling how T-ara was unfairly betrayed from the scandal back in 2012, and now their popularity has slowly been rising once again.
I feel that with what T-ara has done with K-pop so far, if they have just 1 or 2 more strong years, they're a shoo-in for my Hall of Fame. They are so influential, and what they did for EDM and dance music can't be understated. In 2011, T-ara was pretty much the electropop or dance music for a lot of the teenagers and young 20 and even 30-something-year-olds. But I think T-ara stands a good chance of being one of K-pop's greatest and finest since because they've done so much for K-pop thus far.
And finally is a group that's close but needs a bit more to push them over the top, and they are the Brown Eyed Girls. And this was the toughest selection to leave off the list, as I personally like this group and they're so underrated. However, they're mostly known to nearly all K-pop fans for the song Abracadabra. Now, some may know them for their hilarious take on plastic surgery, which they had a music video on SNL Korea. Others might know them from Gain's cameo as a Psy girl, some from Miro's sick raps and how she mentored Cheetah during Unpretty Rap Star Season 1, and fewer for their underrated album 6th Sense, which actually sold higher digitally than Abracadabra. And the hardcore fans of this group will know them as originally an R&B ballad group back in 2006. All in all, they made great contributions to the Hallyu wave as they've been around for over 10 years. But I feel longevity alone in the K-pop industry isn't enough. And with the Brown Eyed Girls, again, it comes down to the casual fan knowing them solely for their incredibly popular song back in 2009, Abracadabra. And that alone, I feel, is not enough to be known as one of the top girl groups in K-pop. However, I feel that this group's on the cusp of being on the Hall of Fame. And with another strong year or two, the four ladies can definitely be cemented as one of K-pop's finest.
With all those shoutouts out of the way, it's time to get into the actual list. And I only picked 6 female groups on this list. I feel that my criteria is a bit strict, but it has to be done because I feel that these 6 groups that I picked had a definite influence in modern K-pop as we know today. So let's take a look at my first choice.
Now our first choice is S.E.S. Meet one of the original female groups of K-pop. Debuting in 1997, they set the tone of what future groups would look like. From the dance pop music, ballads, dance, and style, S.E.S was wildly popular and SM's first successful girl group. They were the female counterpart to H.O.T. and challenged by other groups of their time, Finkel and Baby Fox. Their album, I'm Your Girl, had the cute, innocent vibe going for it, traits that you'd see with today's cute girls. The video also debuted a young Eric and Andy from Shinhwa as backup dancers. The group was also marketed as 3 multi-talented girls, with Bada's strong voice, Eugene's piano playing and fluent English, and Shu's vocal backup and fluent Japanese skills. If you listened to K-pop back in the 90s, lived in Korea during that time, or seen the Korean drama Reply 1997, you already know just how big S.E.S was back in the day and the fan wars that took place in the late 90s. From 1998 to 2000, they switched from the cute concept to the more mature concept. Their finale in 2002 was when they released the mature theme song, Soul to Soul. Due to the song having dark and deep issues such as mental instability, the song was actually not shown on TV. From 2003 to 2016, the 3 ladies of S.E.S went their own way. They acted, did their own solo careers, and did musicals. In the 2010s, all 3 eventually became married and had kids. But the talk of a reunion was quietly talked about. During their 15th anniversary in 2012, I had the honor to meet Bada, and I told her how great it would be if S.E.S got back together in the future. 4 years later, that would happen, as at the end of 2016, teasers came out about an S.E.S comeback. Then with the release of 2 singles, Remember and Paradise, it was official. S.E.S came back after a 13-year break. From there, the 3 30-somethings are showing the younger groups that they still got it.
They are on this list for being one of the pioneers of K-pop. And my second choice is the other pioneer of K-pop.
We can't talk about S.E.S without talking about their rivals, Finkel. Standing for Fine Killing Liberty? Yeah, K-pop groups had some really interesting acronyms back then. Nonetheless, they sold over 2.2 million physical albums and won numerous awards. Debuting 1 year after S.E.S in 1998, Finkel would soon become S.E.S's rival, marking the true first female rivalry between 2 popular groups. The rivalry between Finkel and S.E.S would also mark the competition of 2 of K-pop's big labels at the time, SM Entertainment and DSP Media. At first, Finkel's main strength laid in R&B ballads, as Ok Joo-hyun's vocals was the highlight, as shown in the 1998 song Blue Rain. Eventually, their follow-up songs would be more poppy. Their popularity soon exploded as they won the prestigious Daesung in 1999. In the 2000s, their songs were more mature and dark, as the members were moving on from their teenage phase. 2002 would mark their last year during their famed years. Although they had brief comebacks in 2005 and 2008, Finkel was never able to recapture their past fame as a group. But individually, certain members thrived outside of the Finkel brand. Ok Joo-hyun became popular popular in 2004 after losing a lot of weight. She said that lots of exercise and yoga helped her lose weight and actually became a spokeswoman for yoga, as she was known as one of the yoga women in Korea. However, the biggest star to come from the group undoubtedly is Lee Hyori. Known for her good looks, she used her fame in Finkel to go into solo singing. And it's safe to say that she's had a successful solo career, briefly becoming the highest paid singer in 2006, earning about $2.2 million USD, and released dance pop tracks such as You Go Girl. She was also the poster girl for Soju, wrote newspapers, and made the news often as an animal rights activist. Both Finkel and their contemporaries, S.E.S, started the girl group rivalry in the late 90s and early 2000s.
The fact that this group, as well as S.E.S, thrived during a time of boy bands such as H.O.T, Chexkis, is just a testament of how influential Finkel was back in the 90s and early 2000s to modern female K-pop.
Now, one of the groups that has benefited from the Finkel and S.E.S girl group craze of the 90s is KATA. And KATA is part of the second generation wave in the mid to later 2000s. This generation would lead Korea into the Hallyu wave, which took off in 2009. This group was DSP Media's second major female group and were the successors to Finkel. But things did not go well as first. Their first album, The First Blooming, was not a success. One member dropped out, and two members were quickly brought in to replace her, Guhara and Kang Ji-young. And going with the cute concept in the start from 2007 to 2008, they changed their concept with the more pretty concept in 2009. They had a big hit with Honey, as well as their defining song, Mr. Mr. was one of the most iconic songs during the Hallyu wave, as the choreography, which I'll call the butt dance, was quickly mimicked and recognized right away. Oh boy, I do love that dance. In any case, 2009 cemented KATA as a major player already, as various polls ranked them as either number 5 group or 6 group in Korea. From 2010 to 2012, they released a slew of hit songs with Step, Jumping, Lupin, and Pandora, ranking the group in 4th place in 2012 and 13th place in 2013, according to the Forbes Korea Power Celebrity list. Later in their career, they changed up to a more mature, sexy concept. While KATA was already considered successful in Korea, the thing that pushed them over the top and into my Hall of Fame was their big influence in Japan. The group was beloved by many in Japan during the Hallyu wave boom. A big reason why KATA was able to get a good foothold in the Japanese music market was that the members actually learned Japanese and its culture, whereas a lot of K-pop groups and soloists, unfortunately, don't take the time to learn either. The group made songs specifically for the Japanese market rather than rehashing previous Korean hits and just singing Japanese lyrics over them. One of their Japanese-only singles, Jet Coaster Love, ranked number 1 on the Oricon on its release. They sold over 1 million physical copies in just 2 years, making KATA among the fastest-selling K-pop acts in the Japanese market. And perhaps one of the biggest honors was that they were invited to the 62nd Gohaku Utagassen, which was the end-of-the-year competition show where only the most successful artists that year are invited. KATA, as well as Girls' Generation, are the 2 female groups that have been invited to the prestigious show in the early 2010s. In 2017, a 3rd female K-pop group, Twice, was invited to the show, breaking a 6-year dry spell, the last time a female K-pop group was invited. But as they say, all good things come to an end. And for KATA, the beginning to that end was in 2014, when Nicole and Kang Ji-young left the group. The group would eventually break up 2 years later in 2016. And while the group is no longer there, the former members all went their separate ways and are doing quite well. Nicole, as of February 2018, pursued a solo career and is traveling throughout the world. Hyo Young-ji has a successful solo career. Ji-young parlayed KATA's success into launching her own Japanese solo acting career, as she was in the movie Assassination Classroom 2. And as with Gyuri, Hara, and Sungyeon, they are solo singers and actresses acting in movies, dramas, and web films.
It's safe to say that KATA has influenced the K-pop wave, but it's not just Korea that they've influenced. And to say that it only influenced K-pop on the Korean side would be wrong, because they made a lot of inroads into Japan and being one of the most successful female K-pop groups in Japan. And they are still revered today to many Japanese K-pop fans.
Now it's time to talk about one of JYP's first big successful female groups, the Wonder Girls. The Wonder Girls had the brand name behind it, 5 girls with a lot of potential, and at one point had future 4-minute star Hyuna in the group. I would say that the Wonder Girls had their first big hit from a female group in the mid-2000s with Tell Me. Tell Me was such a popular and huge song in Korea in 2007, and it shot up to number 1 in many charts. The catchy melodies, rap by Yubin, and easy-to-follow choreography was mimicked by many actors and singers. It also got the attention of YouTube co-founder Steve Chen, who said Tell Me was among his favorite videos on the video platform. platform. The song soon led to the girls being called Korea's Little Sisters and Tell Me being known as the Tell Me Syndrome. The girls followed up with two other hugely popular songs, Nobody and So Hot. These two songs also caught on fire and went #1 on the music charts, as well as Music Bank. The group was soon voted for Best Video for Nobody and Best Female Group and ended the year with the prestigious Daesung Award. By 2008, the girls earned about $9 million US and was Korea's premier girl group by the end of 2008. The trifecta of Tell Me, Nobody, and So Hot made the Wonder Girls influential in modern K-pop already. By 2009, rather than continue to dominate Korea, the Wonder Girls would soon go international. They toured the US with the Jonas Brothers in 2009 and came back to Korea 3 years later. But by 2012, things changed in Korea and they weren't the powerhouse female group from 2007 and 2008. Another group further down this list took the mantle from them. In 2012, the girls released some more English songs and were about to go back to Korea to make their Korean comeback. Their Korean comeback, The Wonder Party, came out in 2012. For 2 years after that, in 2013 and 2014, Sunye and Sohee would leave the group and the group would go on hiatus for 2 years. When they came back later in 2015 with the album Reboot, it was a new shift for the group as they were now a musical instrumental group. Yet despite some strong songs in their later years, they would soon disband on January 26, 2017.
Despite the group's influence waning down after 2009, the fact that it had this massive imprint of influence back in 2007 and 2008 alone, and had some strong songs during their later years in 2015 and 2016, showed that the Wonder Girls deserves to be on this list. Just their 3 songs alone of So Hot, Nobody, and Tell Me was so influential in future female K-pop groups. So let's take a look at my next choice on this list.
Now we gotta talk about 2NE1, the female badasses of K-pop. 2NE1 was formed as a sister group to mega popular group Big Bang. They were unique as they weren't the cute nor a sexy group that K-pop is littered with. Rather, YG Entertainment went with a concept that was considered different in Korea: the badass, confident, girl power concept. The group was also noted for having 3 members either being fluent or really good in English, with CL, Bom, and T-ara. The 4th member, Minzy, would be the youngest member and very talented in dance. Debuting in 2009 with 2 singles, Lollipop and Fire, they experienced overnight success. Due to YG's brand name being tied to Big Bang and debuting during the Hallyu Wave breakout of 2009, 2NE1 quickly shot up to the top of the music charts. Their videos quickly hit 1 million views, and their next single, I Don't Care, became a trendy hit at the Mnet Awards in 2009. Already, in just 1 year, 2NE1 was a top 5 female group. A year later, in 2010, they would clean house at the Mnet Awards with Artist of the Year, Best Music Video with Can't Nobody, Best Female Group, and Album of the Year. Since the Wonder Girls were in the midst of doing international tours overseas, 2NE1 filled the void. By the start of 2011, 2NE1 was firmly entrenched as the second most popular female group. The only group higher than 2NE1's incredible fame was a legendary group that defined an era. They're the next group on this list. Again, in 2011, they dominated with Hate You, Lonely, I Am the Best, and Ugly. And yup, won the Song of the Year award again at the Mnet Awards with I Am the Best. Around this time, they expanded into Japan and did reasonably well in sales and exposure. By 2012, they were recognized by overseas outlets alongside Big Bang and by such media like Billboard as one of the K-pop acts to listen to. 2013 and 2014 were also dominant years with Crush and had a world tour around Asia and the US. In just 5 years, 2NE1 looked to be unstoppable as the second most popular group. And then something bad happened. When Bom was involved in a 2014 drug scandal, this marked the slow decline for the once dominant group. CL started to do her solo activities in the US, and the group was on hiatus. When Minzy left the group in April 2016, this was the death knell of 2NE1. Each member went their separate own way, and the story of 2NE1 soon came to a close.
Now, 2NE1 was one of the easiest choices on this list. In fact, it was the second easiest choice on this list. The first easiest choice is coming up after this. But the reason why 2NE1 was just a slam dunk choice is the way that they had this unique angle of being a badass group, as well as having an incredible run from 2009 when they first debuted to 2014. It just shows 2NE1's dominance for a period of 5 to 6 years. And if it wasn't for the next group I'm going to talk about, we'd be saying that 2NE1 were the queens of K-pop during the modern Hallyu wave. But that's okay, because I still think they are such a dominant, such an important group to K-pop that if you took them out, K-pop wouldn't be the same. And plus, their spiritual successors, Blackpink, is pretty much a homage to 21.
Now you guys know, and I know, that Girls' Generation would be on this list. I mean, if this was actually called the Girls' Generation Hall of Fame, I wouldn't have any objections. That's how influential they are. Now they're also known by their Korean name, SNSD, and they're the most influential girl group in modern K-pop, easily. Their style, music, dance concepts, and the power of 9, or 9 members, have revolutionized K-pop. You can see that their influence can be seen in the current dominant group today, Twice. The group mixed both cute and sexy concepts, later shifting to a more mature style later in their career. Debuting in 2007, the group would gain some attention that year, as well as 2008, but it wasn't until 2009 when everything changed for SNSD. When they released the ultra catchy song called G on January 5th, the song exploded in popularity. With the song getting major airplay and exposure, the group was suddenly thrust into the spotlight. The song broke a slew of records and was the #1 song of the entire decade according to Mel0n. Now, naming G Song of the Decade is quite a claim, but I have to agree with it 100%. The song is one of the most recognizable, most defining songs of the Hallyu Wave explosion in 2009, and is pretty much recognizable to this day by pretty much any Korean or K-pop fan. The dance is also very iconic as it put G into another stratosphere. G alone made about $1.2 million USD in endorsement revenue. After G, SNSD followed up with the sexy concept Tell Me Your Wish or Genie. This song became another iconic hit as well as its choreography. These two songs alone cemented Girls' Generation as the new girl group of Korea. Since the Wonder Girls were off in the US going overseas, SNSD took the girl group mantle from them. They would soon face new competition from rising YG group 21. Nonetheless, they would also be known for their hit songs Oh, Hoot, The Boys, and I Got a Boy for the rest of 2009 to 2013. In 2010, it was impossible to live in Korea without seeing a Girls' Generation ad. I've actually felt it myself as I actually moved to Korea in 2010 and I saw nothing but SNSD ads. They were pretty much everywhere, from the LG Cookie phone, Domino's Pizza, and Caribbean Bay posters. From 2011 to 2014, they would go overseas as representatives of the Hallyu Wave. The group was also quite successful in Japan as they sold over 1 million copies and was platinum certified by the RIJA. They had several tours in Japan and gained a sizable fandom with the K-pop fans in the country. SNSD was one of the few groups that was able to break into the Japanese market during the Hallyu Wave and hit the upper ranks of the Oricon. The group also performed on the David Letterman Show and Live with Kelly in 2012. However, despite all this overseas attention, by 2014, the SNSD train started slowing down. Their music video, Mr. Mister, while successful from a number standpoint, was a bit choppy and didn't have the best editing for an SM video. This is due to the producers saying that the track lost footage while working on it, and they had to work with what they had. The other big hit for the group was the departure of Jessica. For many SNSD fans, seeing the group as 8 members would take some time to get used to, but the group went into 2015 with new energy. They released Lionheart and Party, and while the music videos are yes also high, to the average casual non-K-pop fan, SNSD wasn't the same. After going on hiatus in 2016, the group attempted to revive the spark with Holiday Night in 2017. Again, yes, the music video views are really good, but common perception of Korea says that their glory days are sadly behind them. With 3 members, Tiffany, Sooyoung, and Soyeon, leaving SM Entertainment, and Tiffany going back to the US to study acting, the group's future is quite shaky. Taeyeon is also producing a solo career, and so far, her solo singing is well received. Currently, the group is still together, but with 3 members being part of different music labels, time will tell if SNSD will continue to be a group. Nonetheless, being around for 10 years is quite an accomplishment, as the group was one of the hottest acts of K-pop during the Hallyu Wave. In fact, there's very few girl groups that have been around for over 10 years consecutively, one being Brown Eyed Girls, which I mentioned earlier. Nonetheless, they had a slew of titles bestowed on Girls' Generation, titles such as Nation's Girl Group, Asia's #1 girl group, and Girls' Generation turning K-pop into a huge phenomenon, were all phrases coined by various media outlets, and all true. During their height, the group had postage stamps of them, students at Yale and Harvard highlighting G as a big reason why they studied Korean, and were frequently showcased as the group in K-pop sections in Japanese books. The group was a profit machine for SM Entertainment, making over 1 million USD from 2009 to 2014 in Korea and Japan. And of course, the group has a slew of Daesung awards during their run.
For all the awards bestowed upon Girls' Generation, there's just not enough words nor time in this video to explain just how influential and important they are to modern K-pop. I mean, without Girls' Generation, you really couldn't talk about the modern Hallyu wave in 2009. Without G and their successive songs after that, I don't know how far the Hallyu wave would have went. Girls' Generation is one of the first mentioned groups why a lot of people got into K-pop in the late 2000s, without a doubt.
So to recap, here are the 6 female groups that I've chosen for my personal Hall of Fame: S.E.S, Finkel, KATA, The Wonder Girls, 21, and Girls' Generation.
Whew, it's been a long video, but we're finally done. So what do you guys think about this video? And what do you guys think about my female K-pop Hall of Fame? Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? I'd love to know your comments in the comments below. And if you guys want to pick up my free ebook on what was it like being a K-pop journalist in Seoul, please sign up for my free email list below. And with that being said, I'm off to watch another music video, but I'll be back soon. So I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, guys.